Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. A big welcome to you all to Microsoft Copilot Week. My name is Sean, and I'm delighted you're joining us for today's ESBC community webinar. Today, I'm joined by Scott Brandt, who will cover how Microsoft Copilot can transform your inbox. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESBC_community, and our hashtag is hashtag ESBC24. Tweet us, tag us, and tell you what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar, Securing the Digital Assistant, Navigating Security Considerations for Copilot in Microsoft 365 with Alan Cox. This webinar is part of Microsoft Copilot Week and takes place tomorrow, Friday, 17th of May 2024, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. CEST. For more information on this webinar, please check out sharepointeurope.com/Microsoft Copilot Week. Exciting news! The ESBC 24 program is out now. Get ready for 100+ sessions covered all your favorite Microsoft 365 topics, from governance to Azure, AI to security, and much more. Our fantastic program team has curated top-notch content to boost your knowledge. Join us in Stockholm for the stellar event. Book your tickets today at www.sharepointeurope.com/pricing. Get ready to dive into a day filled with insights, inspiration, and innovation. Don't miss out on a chance to connect with industry experts and acquire the skills necessary for success. Save the date before EPBC is right around the corner, taking place next month. With just a 2-day tickets remaining, seize the opportunity to secure your spot today by visiting our website, www.sharepointeurope.com/European Power Platform Conference pricing. Exciting news! Introducing the European Microsoft Fabric Community Conference. Mark your calendars for September 24th to the 27th for an experience packed with workshops, keynotes, and breakout sessions led by Microsoft experts. Explore the latest trends in Microsoft Fabric, including Azure AI and Microsoft Purview. Don't miss out. Register your interest today at www.sharepointeurope.com/European Microsoft Fabric Community Conference. After this webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you have in the questions box. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it is available. And now, I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter, Scott. Hello, Scott. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, you all. Great to see you all here today. And very much as we mentioned today, we're here to talk around the integrations of Copilot inside of Microsoft Outlook. So I'm just going to go ahead and just share my screen with you now. And also just, you should hopefully see me there on my webcam as well in the moment. So it's great to see you all today.
Yeah,
so very much,
I can see you. Yeah, and your
brilliant
presentation.
And the slides as well. Awesome. Thank you, Sean. So yes, great to meet you all today. As we mentioned, today is all around the abilities of Microsoft Copilot inside of Microsoft Outlook, and it'd be great to talk you through some of those capabilities, show you how you can use these tools to automate some of those tasks that we do every day inside of Outlook that can become a bit of a time drain for us all, or we can spend time in better ways on the better things in life, is what I normally say. And I'm going to talk you through, as well as existing capabilities that you may have seen before in some of my YouTube videos and some content, as well as some new features today as well that have been recently released in Copilot in Outlook, and how we can also use those to get the most from the product inside of Outlook as well. So just a quick intro to myself before we dive into the product capabilities. Some of you may have seen me before or maybe met me at previous conferences. My name's Scott and I head up a company for Inspire Cloud, and as well as creating a separate brand, Your 365 Coach, which you may have found on various social media platforms, We actually created that brand back in 2022. And since we've actually created that, we've now gained over 50,000 subscribers across our social channels, 3 million video views in the last 12 months alone, which is all around content and how to get the most from Microsoft 365 tools, one of which, of course, being Copilot and another one being Outlook as well. So, of course, if you want to, subscribe to us on any of those channels, feel free. We're obviously very active on YouTube with new videos for free every single week. Just search for the words Your 365 Coach and you'll find hundreds of videos there already, including one around this topic that already is on our channel today as well. And of course, you can find out more of our website, your365coach.co.uk, for learning courses, coaching and consulting alongside all of our free content. And of course, I was also awarded a Microsoft MVP recently for both Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Loop, another hot topic in the world of collaboration as well. So it was an awesome achievement, and also means I can share more around what these capabilities of the products do, aligning to what Microsoft is also doing as well. Awesome. So great to meet you all today. That's a little intro on myself. So the biggest question, I appreciate that a lot of you on today's call probably already know what is Microsoft Copilot, but for those that are still a little unsure, and I appreciate many people are a little bit unsure about what it can do and also what its purpose is, I really try and wrap it around this idea that it's your digital personal assistant. So very much, one of the things that Copilot is not, it is not an autopilot. So in terms of using these product capabilities, it can certainly help you with certain tasks in your day, drafting emails, finding content, scheduling meetings and the like, especially in the world of Outlook. But of course, what it won't do for us right now, at least, is become the digital version of you. It's not going to manage your inbox and send automated replies out pretending it's you, at least not today. So very much think of Copilot as your digital personal assistant, but the value add is coming from that time saving that you'll have every single day when you use these tools in the most beneficial ways to you. So very much, with that in mind, today we're going to see in action, which is what I would say is really changing these time-consuming tasks into more streamlined, automated processes. There's also, of course, one point to note on Copilot. Like any part of technology, this is very much a version 1 of the product. We only need to think back to the world of iPhones and iPads from the likes of Apple, where those devices came out with no app store, really limited on what it could do. I think one of the best apps on the first version of the iPhone was the calculator. It didn't have much capability. So we really need to look through Copilot on the same lens. Very much over the next 12 plus months, we're going to see more changes in Copilot and continue to develop its capabilities, just like we've seen on those other technologies in the last decade as well. So what we're certainly not seeing today is what I'd say is the finished and final product. Copilot is changing every day with new features, and I think that's one of the big benefits, that it's continually evolving in terms of product capability from Microsoft and the underlying GPT capabilities that it also harnesses as well. So hopefully it provides a bit of an insight into how this product can work for you, and really thinking of it as your digital personal assistant as well, and also what the future could hold in terms of capabilities. But of course, we're here to discuss Outlook, and I've used Outlook for well over a decade for my own email purposes. And I didn't start out in IT many years ago. I started off in a business team, and I was using Outlook every day to contact customers and clients and firing emails out. As we know, Outlook does become, whether we like it or not, a bit of a personal task inbox. A lot of people use emails for tasks and they work through their inbox. But very much we see 4 core activities today that happens in Outlook. You may draft an email to a client or a colleague and write up something that's going to be sent out to another party. You'll spend a lot of your day reviewing and summarizing emails that land inside of your email inbox. You will also spend a great deal of time searching for emails in your inbox as well. And we know with Outlook search, that can become a bit problematic. but very much we all would need to go find last week's email with a particular attachment, and without using Outlook search filters, that can become a bit of a time burden. And of course, you need to manage your diary as well. So how are you going to manage your calendar, upcoming appointments, and so forth? And if you wrap up all of these activities, well, really, we see that the average professional, according to a recent Harvard Business Review back in 2019, was we spend around 28% of the workday reading and answering email. And so from that point, we can see that we could become much more productive if we didn't have that time that we'd spent in Outlook reviewing and writing emails every single hour of the day. And we all know how it is, right? You drop into Outlook, you lose focus on what you were doing, and then before you know it, you're already behind on time because another email has dropped in. I tend to think of this as fighting the tide because there'll always be emails tomorrow, right? So with that in mind, how can Copilot transform Outlook? Well, I think we're all interested in the stats, and Copilot is still very early in its implementation for a lot of customers. But Microsoft have recently put out a report, and that was really helping those early adopters understand the impact to those teams. How much time were people saving when it came to using Copilot for email generation, search, and so forth. And what in that report shown is that 64% of end users said that Copilot helped them spend less time processing email. 85% of users helped them get a good first draft faster. And 75% said Copilot saves me time by finding whatever I need in my files. Key part of our day, right? And 29% said they were faster in a series of tasks, searching, writing, summarizing. So we can see some good numbers there in terms of how Copilot can also have advantages when it comes to the use of Outlook. And as I mentioned, you can have a look at that report yourself. Microsoft have published it. It's called the World Trend Index Report, and it is available for you to go and review, as well as additional reports that Microsoft have put out more recently on the impact in the workplace as well. So with that in mind, we still have to answer the question, right? That's great, but what does Copilot do in Outlook? Many of you may still not know that, so we're going to go and take a look. Now, I do here mention a particular, I suppose, constraint in that Copilot can take a little bit of time with its replies. So I would love to have a response back sometimes in seconds for the purpose of a demo, but obviously in real life, it needs to process our question, look at data, and then come back with an answer. So from a demonstration perspective, it can run a little slowly, and that will always depend on the underlying service as well. So just to mention that as a bit of a health warning before I go into a demo, and also live demos will always have a degree of risk and challenge in them, but I'm hopeful we'll be able to take you through some good capabilities today. Awesome, so let's move forward, and if you have any questions, please use that box and we'll come to them at the end and I'll try and answer them the best that I can. Awesome. So let's start out with the main topic. We are going to be using Outlook here, and we have access to Microsoft Copilot. So a Microsoft Copilot license has been procured, and we're using the Microsoft 365 version of the product, which is the paid for version. And that is the reason why we have it inside of Microsoft Outlook. I know some people get confused because the free versions of Copilot, where are they in Outlook? They are not available in Outlook. We would need to use a Microsoft 365 version, which I'm going to be using today to demonstrate that to you. So the first consideration we've got is we need to now consider how are we going to be drafting emails in the future, and how does Copilot help us out with that? Well, let's consider a particular scenario here. What we want to do is actually go and draft an email around a particular project. So I can go ahead and open the new email button inside of my Outlook. And when I do that here, I have this draft with Copilot button. I could also click on / and open the same menu to see this draft button. When we see that here, right in front of us in the screen, you'll see a dialog that says, what would I want this email to say? Now, we already have developed the email, the actual question for Copilot to save time today. And I'm going to ask Copilot to draft an email to Alex to ask about a meeting with John Smith from Project Greenspace, who's the supplier lead. I'm concerned about possible overspends. I need to keep an eye on that budget. So I've given Copilot a problem in terms of that's my concern and I need an email generated to that particular person. Now I could go ahead and click on generate and fire it across to Copilot, but you'll actually see this button, this slider option for generation options. And here you can change the way that Copilot should draft the email. I direct, neutral, casual, tone, formal, or we can make it a poem. I don't think making a poem would be too good to a supplier lead, but you have these different options here to choose and the length of the email that you would actually look to get back. Well, I'm going to here just leave it as formal and go ahead and click on the generate draft button inside of Outlook. That now will be sent over to this large language model, the Copilot engine, who would take that information and then respond with an email that we could utilize. You'll then see that this is in a gray box, but it's drafted, I'd say, a pretty good email in less than, 10 seconds. And here it actually calls out that I need to request a meeting, the details, and etc. it brings in, and some availability times. Now, if you're not happy with this version, you can actually go into the box beneath it and you can actually say you want to make a change. So maybe you want to be less formal. I could say make it less formal. I could also do the same using the slider option on the left-hand side to edit the prompt, but I'll go ahead and click on send, and it now will again regenerate the email for us with Copilot helping us out. Now, once an email is ready to go and generated by Copilot, you can see here as an example, we can go ahead and select keep it. Now here we can see that email is now available in Outlook, and that's I think one of the key points here that you really need to address is that you can now make changes to that email. Copilot certainly help you draft up an initial version, but it is still about you being the valuable person in this will read it and make changes that are required to the email. You do not need to accept an email from Copilot as the final version and then go and hit on send. So very much I could come into here, delete some content and so forth, make various changes. That is available to you and you're in the driving seat to do that. And that is one particular scenario that you can use when Copilot comes to generating your emails. But also we need to consider another scenario, which is when it comes to replying to emails. You'll see here I've received an email and it's around Project Greenspace again, and it's around budget sign off. This person, Alex, is chasing up about the actual budget sign off and needs an answer by the 16th of May. Now I could go ahead and click on the reply button, of course, and begin drafting my own email, but I may now want Copilot to help us out again. And what you can see at the bottom is you have a box here, draft with Copilot, Greenspace on hold, budget not approved, need more time, and we also have a custom option here as well. If I selected need more time in draft with Copilot, you'll see it had an understanding of the email to begin with, and now it generates us a response in less than around 5 seconds. We now have an email that says we're waiting for budget approval for Project Greenspace. We need an answer by, I know you need an answer by the 16th, but I need more time and I'm very sorry about that. Thanks for your patience and understanding. So we've now had a reply drafted by Copilot under the concept of needing more time. But I might actually want to again make a change. I may also want to make it more apologetic or change the tone. So I could say change the tone a little and make it more friendly. Again, we'll click on this button to the right and it'll regenerate our draft to reply to that email. And hopefully what we're seeing here is the value add that Copilot is providing. We can once again now select keep it and the email will then be drafted as a reply. We can now go ahead and send that out to Alex, but once again, you may want to make changes to that email because ultimately it's your email. We should never rely on Copilot to generate an email and then click send because you are the most valuable person in this ecosystem. But if we're good to go, we can go ahead and click on send and off that email goes back to Alex. Copilot's helped us generate that and maybe it was also improved my empathy on the email going back to that party, and that's some of its key advantages. So we've seen there 2 examples of how we would draft an email using Copilot, draft it from the start, but also draft replies that use the context of the original email to draft the reply based on. And we were also able to change the tone and make adjustments as well. Now, another consideration that we saw earlier was we get lots of emails every day. And especially if you're busy, and I know I've been in this scenario before, an email has landed on your actual desktop, and in 5 minutes, you need to go and meet with one of your customers. And you need to understand that email, and it could be several pages long. How can you quickly get a summary without speaking to one of your colleagues who may have read the email before you because they're also busy or just grabbing a coffee? Well, in that scenario, as you'll see, in terms of above every email inside of Outlook, you will see a summary by Copilot button. So here as an example, if we look at some of these other emails, this one is around stock prices. I could click on summary by Copilot. It'll scan the email, pick up any key points, and then it will actually align to what is in the email. Miriam has asked if the stock price has changed and what it could mean for Project Falcon. Alex then forwarded the email to me and asked for thoughts on the stock price. By hovering over Alex, I can actually see, using the Outlook integration, all of the messages he sent to me previously and any contact details as well. But this is a very useful capability because now you have the ability to summarize long, lengthy emails very quickly. You could now go and draft a reply on, join a customer meeting, provide more information to relevant people. So going back to that point of, well, I need to review emails, understand them, and draft replies, we can actually bring those 3 use cases into Copilot through summaries, draft reply, and draft emails to provide some of those capabilities and save you time every single day. And this is using real system as such. Yes, it's test data, but Copilot has not necessarily been trained on this. It's just sitting in an Outlook inbox and using the live system to generate replies from that data. So very much we have that as another consideration. But of course, we should also consider that there's other ways we can use Copilot. And I think some of these, again, are very useful to consider. So we're going back to our Project Greenspace idea here. And this email was relating to this project. The problem is you may be super busy and you may not know much about what Project Greenspace is. And that's going to give you a problem. If you've got no idea what the project's regarding, how on earth can we reply to this email? Maybe your project manager or your project lead is out of the office. How can we get context about what on earth this project is? And that's where we can use the wider Copilot capabilities. There is now, which is effectively rolling out, a Copilot sidebar available in Outlook. So I can click on Copilot in the top right, and I can access a sidebar, which is different to what I've been doing when we're drafting our emails and summarizing them in Copilot. Now, in this scenario, I could go and ask Copilot to tell me more about the Project Greenspace. So I'll go ahead and I'll just copy that question we've got into here, save a bit of time, tell me more about Project Greenspace. Now, the big difference here is this is using capabilities that Copilot Chat has been using and otherwise ChatGPT, in terms of it will go and find relevant information in your IT environment, it will bring it back, and it will summarize it for you. We can see now on the right-hand side, the Copilot sidebar is telling me what Project Greenspace is, what's the purpose of it, etc. Go right to the top. We can see that drafting up here. It's a project to transform a brownfield site into a more actual green space in London. The project team include these individuals. And here's what we're aiming to do in the project. Alongside that, there's been recent emails between me and Alex regarding the budget sign-off for Project Greenspace, and Alex is awaiting a response about the budget approval, and Alex wants to know more news. So this is not taking information just out of Outlook. And we know that because at the point of all of these replies in Copilot, you will see a number next to them all. This is what we call a referencing Copilot. And by hovering over these references and left clicking, it'll actually be taken to the content that's been referred to inside of that chat. And this is stored in my OneDrive for Business account. It's effectively a renewal project scope document, but it could also be stored in SharePoint or Microsoft Teams or an attachment that I have access to. So in that way, the Copilot capabilities in Outlook have used data from other sources. In fact, 5 different references have been taken to generate this reply. And what it has done here is it's basically explored what Project Greenspace is to give me context to reply to an email on. That is very different to us drafting emails, because I wouldn't want to have an email drafted telling me what Project Greenspace is, but I may want to know that to help me understand what the best reply is and where the project status is at. And that is using the actual capabilities on the right-hand side inside of the Copilot sidebar. Useful capability, I would suggest, and capability you've seen before in Copilot chat inside of Teams, but now available in Outlook that you could also reference there as well. So also let's consider, another scenario in terms of using this actual sidebar. And that would also be around looking at meetings and finding other content, because what we do need to consider is you have maybe a busy diary. And as you can see, I've got a few meetings coming up. I've got a meeting later to review the Project Greenspace roles and responsibilities with Alex. I also have a meeting tomorrow as well to review a project scope document as well with Alex, and that's set up for tomorrow. So in this case, what I could also do is I could actually, as you can see, have Copilot help me prepare for my meeting on a particular topic. So here, I can go ahead, help me prepare for my meeting with Alex on Friday, the 17th of May at 9 a.m. Just go ahead and just give that question to Copilot. And sometimes Copilot can take a couple of tries to get it right in some ways, but we'll go ahead and just see what it can find back. So here you go, it's not working in this scenario here. But effectively, you can see it couldn't find the meeting at 9 a.m., but it found recent information regarding Project Greenspace. So it found that information in there. So it is possible, and we used this scenario yesterday, that we could actually go ahead and say, can you also tell me more about the meeting on a particular day? Well, you can also ask Copilot here is to find slots. So what is the best time for me to schedule a meeting on Friday, 17th of May? Go ahead and give this to Copilot. Hopefully it won't trick us twice in my live demo, but we'll go ahead and have a look. There we go. We can see it's coming back now. You can actually see that he identified the meeting between 9 and 12, and then also mentioned the scope of the meeting, and I could schedule a meeting before or after. Is there anything else you can help with? Now, of course, in my calendar here from a test scenario, I could have guessed that. I could have said any time after 12, right? But these scenarios can help if someone has asked you that question of, next week, when are you free? Rather than go through each of those appointments in your diary, ask Copilot, and it will find the relevant slots in your diary as well to help with arranging your meeting. And that can be quite powerful in terms of its capabilities. And on the Copilot roadmap, which is publicly available, there is a change coming as well in Copilot that will allow us from an email to actually schedule a meeting from a particular email, which will also add in an automatic agenda, the attendees and the meeting subject into a calendar invitation automatically using Copilot in a single button click. That's not available until July of this year, so I couldn't show that in our environment today. But again, that probably then shows that I mentioned earlier that the capabilities of Copilot are always improving, and you want to see that later on this year, having Copilot automatically schedule meetings for you from an email, which again will be a huge time saving and a time benefit as well. Awesome. So we've seen the integration here of the Copilot sidebar working inside of Outlook as well. And one of the things I actually do consider is also how can Copilot work on particular scenarios, because that again is underused. Now, in terms of these capabilities, I'll just put it here in the Copilot chat to the right-hand side. I've asked it, how can I set a category on Outlook email? So effectively, I've given it a question in terms of the chat. Now, effectively, what we're trying to do here, and it might take a bit of time, is you can see on the right-hand side now, it's actually coming back with help information, because this is a key part of Copilot gets overlooked. It obviously knows a lot about how to use systems. And so if you need to actually understand how to do something, you can also ask the Copilot sidebar through this Copilot chat experience to find out how to do it. That saves you going into the web browser tab and then searching for your question and looking through lots and lots of resources. Ask Copilot and I'll tell you how to do it. Now, consideration is it won't do it for you, at least not today. It won't set categories, but I do feel it's a useful consideration, again, how you may want to use Copilot in the future to help with those common questions that you have and also automate some of that as well. Excellent. So let's now also consider another scenario, which is finding content. And I'm going to step out of Outlook for a moment here and show that these experiences are not exclusive to Outlook. They are also available in other applications. So if I fire up Microsoft Teams on my desktop, and if I have Copilot available, inside of my chat button on the left-hand side, I will actually have Copilot Chat. And here is very much the same capabilities that we saw inside of our sidebar inside of Microsoft Outlook. Here is also what we can do to give it questions to help prepare for meetings and more. As an example, let's go ahead and ask this chat here, how is my diary looking like tomorrow? Go ahead and press enter on this Copilot chat. Now, this experience therefore uses the information available to your account, again, SharePoint, Teams, Outlook, and so forth, to pull back effectively more information inside of this chat experience. And then once again, I find this for a lot of customers to be underused. We can actually see here that when I asked it that question, it came back and said, I have a meeting with Alex from 9 till 12 p.m. In addition, I sent an email 10 minutes to go to Alex regarding budget approval because I didn't have the final answer and I was apologizing. And there's a document which might help, being the project scope document stored inside of my OneDrive that I could also go ahead and read. And I've got an important day ahead. Make sure I've got the project scope document handy for the meeting. That is pretty powerful because in most cases, if you had a PA, you might have given your PA that question. If you don't have a PA, it was down to you to understand what the meeting was about and look for the relevant materials to support you. But in this case, Copilot helped by telling me that information. So I have some information ready for my meeting to go in there as well. And also, we can do much the same as we saw in terms of the other capabilities. In this chat experience, I could also ask when would be a good time to schedule a meeting on the 17th of May. Because again, it has access to your data inside of Outlook, it again will use that and also reply with those relevant results. Quite powerful in terms of, again, what it can do. It also is showing that you don't need to be in Outlook to have those experiences. And I think that's the key point of that. The Copilot integration running across apps means you can be in Teams and ask this question to your Copilot chat. You do not need to be in Outlook to ask these questions, which for me is very powerful because for many years, we expect only to be in a certain app to do certain things. Not anymore when it comes to Copilot. That experience runs across 365. Now, let's also consider another scenario, one that I know will bug you and bugs a lot of people, including me. Finding emails inside of your Outlook actual app. Here, I'm going to give Copilot another question. Can you help find an email which had a PowerPoint regarding Contoso sent to me? Let's go ahead and fire that off to Copilot chat. Now, in this case, I've not really given Copilot much to go on. I always recommend that we actually do give Copilot a little bit more detail, but it has found the relevant correct result. Here it found an email back on February the 21st with a PowerPoint attachment regarding Contoso. So Copilot was able to actually extract the data using the search indexes from the PowerPoint and find it was relating Contoso, and it was sent to me to review the PowerPoint as a priority. And if I need to locate this, you can search for the subject PPT review or the sender's name to find it in Outlook, which is really cool. But in addition, what we can do once again is we can look at the reference, which is number 1, and see it's coming from PPT review. I can left click on the reference, and there is the email. And there is the PowerPoint file that was being referred, which is also now become available to me, all from a single question inside of Copilot. You can imagine the other way around doing that in an Outlook search. I'd have to go sender is Scott, attachments is yes, put my time dates that I would expect to have that reply, and then I would go in and search for it and look through maybe 50 emails to find it. Well, not anymore, because Copilot could find that relevant result by asking it in human language rather than using search filters. And I think that's quite powerful in terms of what it can do as well, because again, massive time drain finding emails. And I know a lot of you don't like Outlook search. Well, use Copilot to search instead of Outlook, and you'll find relevant results quickly that you can actually go and take further use of and save time as well. So very much we've seen a lot of kind of content, I would say, around this. And of course, just to mention that if also I had the same question earlier around Project Greenspace, I could also ask this chat experience the same question and find also similar results. So this is how we're seeing the use of the Copilot sidebar in Outlook, as well as the Copilot chat experience inside of Teams, providing similar capabilities. Although I did mention that I find a lot of people overlook this experience, and I find it's very similar to ChatGPT experiences that people have, I think, largely come together and understand more of. You can use this and pick up your emails from there as well. And there we go. There's all of our answers back. There's all of the Word documents referenced I can go and access from Microsoft 365 and a summary, and even including the email that I've just sent back to Alex talking around, once again, the budgets. So great capability there as well. So if we then consider, well, what have we done, and what did we look at? Well, we go back to that slide that we were discussing here and looking back at really where we started, the start of this demonstration, was very much that we were able to use Copilot to draft email replies, aligning to what 64% of people are saying. It helps them spend less time processing email and 85% of them getting a good first draft faster. We reviewed email using summarization as a way to summarize a lengthy email. We used Copilot search to search for email without going anywhere near Outlook search filters and the search box to find relevant results, including finding attachments to emails. And we used some of the diary management, although limited in Copilot, to look for time slots, and also we could prep for meetings ahead of the time and able to have a good outcome in our meetings as well. So using those 4 scenarios, we've seen how Copilot can transform Outlook. But in addition, we saw the experiences both outside of Outlook using Teams chat to deliver those experiences, and showing that the ecosystem overall provides that, I would say, the integrated view of data, meaning that we no longer need to look through one particular app to find one particular search result. You can look across all of your 365 content using the Copilot experience as well. So that takes us really at the end of our demonstration in terms of what we can actually do in Copilot. We mentioned earlier that there's ability to also cover any questions that you may have today, which I'd obviously love to understand and see if I can answer for you. And Sean can also go through those questions as well. So I appreciate all your time today, and I hope that demonstration also provides useful in terms of how you can consider Copilot in Outlook, how it can certainly save some time from those more mundane tasks that you spend hours on every week, and focus on the better things in life with that time. Over to you, Sean. Cool. I'm just having a look at any questions here. So if there's any questions and new ones coming through, please also just add them into the question box on the right-hand side. I'll pick those up for you as well. More than happy to wait for a few minutes for any questions. And I can also answer for some particular questions we had from some of our customers that are actually using this product. Some around licensing and some of the use cases you've seen. I mentioned at the start of the meeting that the product we're utilizing today is the Microsoft 365 Copilot capabilities, which is a paid for service. You can use the free Copilot services available in the wider web, being Bing Search, as it was known before, or Bing Chat as well, with my past YouTube videos covered. And that capability is also available, which is effectively free of charge, but it doesn't have access to any of your business data. Microsoft 365 services do have access to your business data, allowing it to take your data, understand it, and provide responses back. Using the free versions of Copilot, unfortunately, will give no access to your data, and therefore the replies are more generic than what you would see in today's example, where it understands your colleagues, your emails, your SharePoint files. The free versions do not provide any of that capability, but they are useful, of course, to use.
Thanks, Scott, for a great presentation and demos. So we'll now get into the questions and answers part. Should you wish to ask a question, please feel free to type it into the questions box now. So just our first question is, can I ask Copilot follow-up questions with regard to summaries of emails? Example, focus on topic X, tell me more about topic Y. Is there a task for me? Question mark.
Yes, so you can follow up with another question in relation to the original answer. It depends, of course, if what you're asking it is available to Copilot, in that it can't necessarily fill in blanks. That if it doesn't have access to that, it may not know the actual reply. But absolutely, you can ask a follow-up question. Tasks are a little bit more complicated because at the moment, as you've probably seen, we have covered this on our other YouTube content around the use of Planner Premium. Currently, Copilot is a feature of actual Planner Premium rather than the free version of Planner or Microsoft To Do. So in terms of task management, it is limitations on what Copilot can do. Hope to see more integration in the future, but today it's very limited around task management. Yeah, so that's one thing I'd say that's probably not that useful unless using Planner Premium. Outside of that, of course, follow-up questions, yes, are supported with any of the conversations you have with Copilot as well.
Perfect, Scott. So we'll just get on to the next one, if that's right.
Mm-hmm.
When it lists the references in brackets files it used for its answer, does it also tell me where those are saved? The path, question mark.
It does indeed. So it will show you where they're coming from in terms of the relevant application or service. You will also, as I've seen in the demo today, which I find quite useful, you can click into one of the references to review where it's found the relevant actual reference from. And why I find that useful is the actual content which is taken to build up its response is also useful for your own understanding as well. Again, it's quite useful to go, okay, well, where was that document stored and how did it use that? And there might be additional information that you can pick up from there. So absolutely it does. And you can also then click into it to review it in more detail if you would like. And that's a good benefit because, you know, if you look, I suppose, at the early versions of which was ChatGPT, it doesn't reference where content is coming from. And so sometimes I think that brings a bigger question of, is this information correct? Well, because it tells you where it's from, you can also dig into it further and ensure it is if it's a really important thing you're working on as well.
Amazing, Scott. So just the next question there is, The questions that you are writing will be
Mhm.
possible to do the same direction to Copilot by voice or only by writing.
Today, it's writing that I'm using. You may have experienced some of the, I guess, capabilities available in ChatGPT, especially some of their announcements yesterday around some of their new enhancements and integration with iOS apps and stuff they got going on, which is really cool. My ad, I've actually shown my daughter who's 6 and reading stories to her from ChatGPT, but she's quite complex with it all. She has no idea she's talking to a machine, which is really cool. But at the moment, the Copilot experiences are via text. I'd love to see voice. Obviously, I don't know if that will ever happen, but it would be pretty cool if you could, much like the old days of Cortana or other apps, ask it a question from your desktop. But at the moment, I haven't seen those capabilities as such, but I'd love to see them. But yes, at the moment, who knows what the future holds.
Perfect. So just the next question is Copilot available in the classic version of Outlook?
So yeah, interesting question, right? Because I know some people do not like the new version of Outlook. I fully appreciate that. Yes, there is actually some information available. If you go to the Microsoft 365 roadmap, which is publicly available, to put into your favorite search engine, Microsoft 365 roadmap, you will find on there that there is Copilot rolling out to the classic version of Outlook, and there is capabilities being delivered in there. So, and there's four or five roadmap items showing on there that are in development. So yes, right now though, I've been using New Outlook to demonstrate Copilot, but the roadmap will show you what's coming to classic Outlook as well.
Perfect. So just the next question there, Scott, is we are currently doing a POC of Copilot for Microsoft 365. But one
Yep.
issue we're having that it doesn't seem joined up. Asking it to find a suitable time for two colleagues to meet. It comes back October and also doesn't seem to integrate with Microsoft To Do. For example, if I want to add an email to a to-do item, it can't do it. Are we midding something, or do you know if tighter, wider integration is coming?
Yeah, so interesting points. Yeah, I think the first one, I'm unsure why it will come out with an update in October. There's probably some type of source index there that's not quite correct. I would really recommend, if you're getting a kind of really crazy responses, there is the ability in any response Copilot gives you is a thumbs up, thumbs down. If you do a thumbs down, it will also ask you as like a dialogue saying, why was it so bad? And I know that the development team in Microsoft review that information to improve Copilot capabilities. So where you are seeing really crazy negative results, feed that back to the team, because that is sent back to the product team for them to look at if there's something need to improve in the product. Of course, as well, if you are having an issue, I'd probably raise the ticket as well if to Microsoft if you're struggling with these kind of October dates. The latter point is what we mentioned a little earlier in terms of the Copilot integrations with To Do and Planner are today that they don't actually exist. Planner Premium does come with Copilot integration. We have a separate video on our YouTube channel that actually shows how that works, which is pretty cool around creating plans and tasks. But as yet, when we've tried to use that in Outlook, it hasn't had access to Planner Premium. So I guess it's one for the future, but sadly no capability I've seen today.
Amazing. So just the next question there is, are deleted emails available for Copilot?
Deleted emails, was that? Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
deleted.
is deleted. Yeah.
Great question, really. I guess I would say I don't really know that one because I've never tried it with deleted emails. I mean, you could say in the sense of a deleted email exists in a folder on your Exchange profile to which Copilot would have access to your Exchange profile. So in theory, it could potentially go and access the deleted items folder, but it's probably one, to be fair, that's more for Microsoft to mention in case they've put in some type of filter. I can only think of it technically in that it would have access to your mailbox, and the deleted items are retained for a period of time in your mailbox to allow you to get them back later. So I probably can't give you the exact answer on that one, unfortunately, but it's quite possible that they would be used as a response.
Perfect. So just the next question there is, can I ask Copilot to set up a meeting, example, Can you schedule a meeting with Lisa on May 21st at 8 a.m., which lasts 30 minutes?
Not today, no. So, effectively doesn't have that ability to do the scheduling of the email. I think we're going to see some more of that as it lines that roadmap item around meeting scheduling, which we'll see a first glimpse of that with that button that allows us to schedule a meeting with Copilot from an email chain that will actually do some of that for us. Today, if you give that Copilot a question, which I did try part of our kind of training material, it actually come back and say it can't do that today. So I'd hope to see it in the future, but as of yet, no. It would be great when we can, because I think that will save even more time. I'd love to see it, but at the moment, I was unable to get that working, sadly, too.
Perfect. So we just have two more questions, if that's all right, Scott.
Yeah.
So will Copilot only look through my emails? Can it review files and documents I don't have access to?
Great question, very important one as well. So in the first kind of point of that question, Copilot has access to more information than your email. It has access to files that you also have created or you have shared access to in SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive, as well as your email inbox. So it has more access than just your emails, which allows it to provide more value in its responses, as we've seen today in those examples of Project Greenspace. A lot of that information was stored in files in Teams and SharePoint, and it pulled that information out of those files to provide a reply on, rather than just your email inbox, which could be quite limited in terms of what it can find there. The last question, latter part of that question of, well, what does it have access to, right? Is pretty much, it has access to everything that you have access to today. So it uses the Microsoft 365 graph effectively to understand what files need to be pulled back in its reply. It does that using your own user access token. So if you can find content in SharePoint search today, Copilot can also use that content today. So I try and really summarize it around that. If you can search for it today, Copilot can access it today. That does bring up questions like more organizations around, well, do I need to lock down my SharePoint sites or my Teams? Yes, in short, because if you have a public file for all company with salary information, Copilot would reference that. So it makes it really important around end user education around files and security, because this problem has existed for over a decade in SharePoint. Copilot is, of course, using those search indexes and therefore will display data to which you have access to. If you don't have access to the data, Copilot cannot access it and cannot give you a reply based on that information.
Perfect. So just the next one there is, how can I delete a question which I raised via Teams? Usually you can delete
Yeah.
your messages, but it seems not possible with the prompts.
Yes, there is a chat history button in the top right. I haven't seen an option there to delete a chat. I would probably say it is one for looking to the Microsoft additional materials around and regarding deletion of those and e-discovery capabilities and the like. Yes, so I do understand that question in terms of the chat history on the right-hand side. I haven't seen a delete button there. Whether that's coming or not, I sadly don't know. So it is one more so for the probably Microsoft team to discuss that. Not one, sadly, I've got any information on today. But thanks for the question.
We just get another few in, if that's all right.
Sure, yeah, no worries. Great to get like questions, which is all good. Carry on, by all means.
So, how can I get this background? I really like it.
Oh,
Guys,
this
thanks a lot.
background.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's sadly one of our own custom backgrounds for your 365 Coach and Inspire Cloud. So not something you actually download from the web. We have a designer build it. But thanks for the feedback. It's nice to know.
Yes, so I think that's all the questions there, Scott.
Cool. Awesome. That's really positive. I appreciate everyone's question today and engagement. It's really good to get questions. I know you've all been enjoying it, and I haven't put anyone to sleep. That's the best part about it, I guess. And so, yeah, I really appreciate everyone's time. So over to you, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah, so on behalf of the ESPC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you to you again, Scott, for taking the time to carry out this webinar. I really appreciate it. So that's the end of
Well,
today's
thank you.
webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thanks again for all of you joining us today, and I hope you join us again soon. Take care.